I'm on preview. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh dear. Oh, what's gone wrong? Oh, you can see me now, can you? Can you see me? Oh my god, what the hell happened there? What happened there? God knows what happened there. Anyway, guys, hello. It's working now. Brilliant. It's actually working now. Brilliant. Hello. All right. Okay. That's great. That's great. Let me just do the usual things, and I'm just going to share this around and get some viewers in. I've already actually shared some of it. Oh, you can see me now, can you? Can you see me? Oh my god, what the hell happened there? So it's playing in another tab. What happened there? God knows what happened there. Responding. Okay. Anyway, guys, hello. It's working now. Brilliant. It's actually working now. Brilliant. Bear with me. Hello. All right. Okay. That's great. That's great. Let me just do the usual things, and I'm just going to share this around and get some viewers in. I've already actually shared some of it. Oh, you can see me now, can you? Can you see me? I've got it open in Opera as well. What the hell happened there? So it's playing in another tab. What happened there? God knows what happened there. Responding. Okay. Right. There's a problem. I've got technical problems, guys. It's because my computer's so old and cranky. I'm getting a new one, I'm getting a new desktop PC pretty soon. I've already ordered it. Right. So sorry about that. I'm with you now. Okay. So I want to say a big hello. All right. I know there's feedback, guys. Don't worry. I'm now going to just share. I'm going to do the share around, and then we're rolling. And so the echoing is caused by the fact that it was playing in two browsers at the same time. And my computer's so slow; it takes like a minute to. It takes about a minute even to get its arse into gear, so I can go to the browser and shut it. Okay, I'm just now waiting for that. I press the share button. I'm just waiting for it to respond. Okay, responding for Facebook. I had terrible technical problems actually doing a Panmo radio the other night. It's bloody awful. And I think it's just because my computer's 9 years old. I've only upgraded it once, so I am getting a new one in the next couple of weeks. I'm having one custom built for me by some local craftsmen. They cost a little bit more actually. It costs like maybe 150 extra than one. Just like something you pick off the shelf. Like something you pick off the shelf in PC World, but it's worth it. I tell you, it's worth it because it's much better quality. It's much better quality. These local people are experts. They're really good people. I've been using them for like years. I think for as long as I've had computers, I've been going to them. Okay, just waiting for Twitter to respond now. It's lots of hourglassing all over my browser, I'm afraid, guys. This is taking a long time, and there's nothing I can do about it. Except get a new computer, which I'm going to do. Hope you're alright. I'll come and answer your posts in a minute. I'll answer your... Alright. So tweet that. I've actually already posted like the notice on her Panway Radio blog because I arranged the live stream beforehand, so it was like previewed. Okay, posted, so I can shut that tab now. Alright. Oops, I'm just waiting for the Facebook tab now. Post to Facebook. Now that closes automatically, luckily. That one closes automatically. Oh, guys, so anyway, where was I? Yeah, hello to everyone there. I've got... Let me just have a look who's there. I want to say a big hello to Nihilist Lives Matter. Bonsoir, monsieur. Bernie Tucker. I'm a bit late. Yes, I am late because basically I was pressing buttons and nothing was happening. And then it says, no, you've got an extra button you have to press now. YouTube in its beneficence has made it more complicated. Even normally they say, just start OBS. Every time I press the Go Live button on the studio, it's saying, connect encoder, connect encoder. Well, I connected the encoder. Oh no, you've got to press the button again! Hello, Woody Black. Hello, Jake Yorkman. I don't want to moan about technical stuff all the time. Nihilist Lives Matter. It's actually Cryonics, not Cryogenics, yes. Hello, everyone. Michael Snow, User 1. Disrael Diego Rivera, Genius 2, the real genius. How do you do? Donna Wellham, greetings. Martin Taylor, the crafty nihilist, both of you. Elizabeth Clayton, long time no see to you as well. Yeah. Hey Della Farrant, hello. How do you do? I don't know what Cryonics are, but I thought I'd say hi. I will hi Della, and I will explain. And Gardening with Nick, hello. Lizard Skinhead, big up hospital spaceship. Oh. Pride and dignity to the space hospital borders. Hello, Bumbelina. Hello, Legend Real. Nothing as it seems. Echo on the Bunnyman. Nothing. Are you that old? Blimey. And we have also, who else? I think that's everyone. Crafty Nihilist says, Ben, are you in Bath Friday night or Saturday? Both, Crafty, both. We are turning up. I'm turning up. I'm meeting the friends I'm staying with in Bath at some point in the afternoon, and then I'm going back on the Sunday evening. Hello, Jock of Ages, how do you do? Welcome, everyone. Hope you're doing okay, guys. I finally got around to doing this live stream. Now, when did I plan to do this? Because I did a video on Cryonics. I did 2 videos on Cryonics ages ago. I think it was last year. It was definitely last year. And it was in November. I did a video called on Cryonics in November, and then I did another one called it was a review of the book "Why Call Them Back from Heaven" by Clifford Seamack, and that was, I think, just shortly after that. And then I just said, well, I'll do a live stream. There was so much to talk about. I thought I better do a live stream. I better do a live stream as well. So, and then of course other things got in the way, and I kept putting the live stream back and off, and putting it back and putting it off, and things like that. And eventually, I said, well, am I ever going to get this done? It's one of these things where it's like the text version of Evansland. I keep putting it off so much. Am I ever going to get it done? Maybe it's one of these things I'll just never do because it's always going to be like on the back burner. You know, it's one of those annoying things. So it remains to be seen, actually, what happens. It was December I did the review of Why Call Them Back from Heaven by Clifford Seamack. Now you can actually get these on my channel. They're on my channel if you want to see them. Hello, Ferdinand Goglia. How do you do? Rhiannon, how you doing, Rhiannon? Thanks for joining us. And Rhiannon's going to be in Bath as well. Hatchie, how did you do? Yes, Crafty. I'm hoping to meet. I'm meeting Rhiannon and Michael, and also yourselves. And let me know. I've got your phone number, haven't I? There's also a lady called Jackie who's come in, who's a really nice cryptozoologist. So hoping to have a big get together Friday evening. Friday evenings are great before a conference, they really are. And Bath is a beautiful place, and I will be going up there. I'll be taking my not so trusty. There's a bit of a story about my camera. But, Jock of Ages, I'm 49 tomorrow, help. Hey! Well, Jock, happy birthday, you know. And as Woody Black says, 49 is the new 21, yes. Huge Arseholes, miss you, Ben, mate. Well, welcome back, Huge Arseholes. How do you do? That's spelled H-E-W, new word J-A-R-S-O-L-S, in case anyone's wondering what I was actually saying to him, where I was being rude. yeah, I'll be taking my new trusty Panmo TV camera, which hopefully will be trustworthy, because there's a little bit of a story has happened. Do you remember my roving review of Nope and Gardening with Nick? Yes, please do get in touch. I'll have to get your phone number, Gardening with Nick. Do you know I think you've emailed me, haven't you? Send us your phone number. I'll send you mine. You remember the trouble I had with Nope? My Nope roving review when I went to the cinema. Well, I've actually my trusty, and it was trusty. It was very long-lived. Her Panmo TV camcorder has broken down. Now, I did a couple of tests on it. I used 2 separate film chips. And it was very, very agreeable. Now, I don't mind things that break down. What I can't stand is the things that break down. You switch them off, switch them on again, and then they work. And you think, great, there's nothing wrong with it. It was just a one-off. And so you keep using them, and eventually they break down. Well, just at the very, very crucial moment, they break down again. Now, this trusty Panmo TV camera has broken down for good. It is recording. It can record, but it doesn't produce proper files which you can copy. You can only play them back in the viewfinder. So, tomorrow I'm going to get a new one. Yes, I'm going to go to Argos or somewhere like that and get myself a brand new shiny one. So, along with my new PC, which is coming soon, I'm getting a new camera. RIP camera. It's my third Panmo TV camera. Sorry, no, it's my second actually. So I'm getting a third one. Third time lucky. But it's been very, very good, and I do have my phone as a backup. But it's not the phone that has the problem. The PC has the problem copying files from the phone. So I'm hoping I won't have to use my phone. But I'm going to get myself another camcorder. So there you go. So I'll be taking that with me to Bath. Lizard said, "Buy cheap, buy twice." Oh, I'm not gonna. I'd get one. Yeah. And so the add-on says, if you have an unforeseen camera issue, you've always got your phone camera, which is not bad at all. My phone camera is very good, actually. I used it a little bit when I went to do the sky watching in the triangle with you. Probably problem with it, I have to, because of my PC, it's awkward copying the files. I'd probably have to copy them to my laptop and then send them by mail, a big file or something, to my desktop via email, which is annoying. And unless my new PC is done by the end of next week, which probably won't be. Yeah. Oh, Richard Kinzett. Hello, how do you do? Hi, Ben. Can recommend the 4K remaster of Star Trek: The Motion Picture Director's Edition. Richard, I might watch. The problem with that is it's actually an underrated film, but the scene with the transporter accident really spoiled it for me, and a lot of people said they shouldn't have put that scene in there because it's really too much. It's a bit too much of sci-fi horror for Star Trek. It would fit in Doctor Who. You could put that scene in Doctor Who, but it doesn't really fit in Star Trek. Star Trek is meant to be a bit more light-hearted. But thanks for the recommendation. I do like the film. I generally think it's a good film, but I'd have to skip that scene. But Della thinks it's sweet that people still go to Argos than rather do a massive spec comparison online. Yeah, I'll go to Argos simply because I don't have time to order one online now. I have to literally go and buy it, because if I order it online, it'll probably take like 5 days to get there, and I'm sort of pushing it a bit. I should have ordered it a couple of days ago, but I know how much they cost. I've already checked online, and it's as cheap as they get if you go to Argos. So I'm just going to go to the Argos Superstore. So. If I can't find one there, I mean, I've checked. It is in. They have got one in stock at the moment. But if someone picks them all up, I'll have to use my phone camera and hope for the best. Is the phone camera going in the Panmo Museum? It is going to be a prize exhibit, Ferdinand. In the post-disclosure world, it will be indeed. Jock of Ages says, I saw something in the sky. It looked like a big ball of cling film, which I think it was. Right. It may have been that. It may have been the moon, and you were drunk, Jock. Oh no, you filmed it. Oh right. Well, you can hardly see it. That's the problem. Film footage is very rarely as good a quality as the witness testimony, unfortunately. Anyway, guys, Cryonics. Let's get on to now. I don't know if you watched the original Cryonics video I did, and indeed the review of the book, the Clifford Seamack book, which is about Cryonics. I mean, there are other things. There are other fictional portrayals of Cryonics as well, of the subject. Like, I don't know if you've seen the film Sleeper which is a comedy by Woody Allen, which is actually very good. And you know, I know Woody Allen, you either love him or you hate him. I think I love him. But Nihilist Lives Matter mentions the brainworm thing in Wrath of Khan. That was pretty scary too. You're right, Nihilist Lives Matter, but it wasn't scarier than the transporter accident. But it was. The Wrath of Khan actually, I think, is the best Star Trek movie. And funny enough, most critics agree with me. Yeah, that was a scary one, wasn't it? But anyway, Cryonics is what Cryonics is. Yeah, Woody Black now probably understands exactly what Cryonics is because he's seen the film. Because Cryonics is placing someone who's recently died into a very, very cold condition, so their body is preserved. It's basically deep frozen, so that at some point in the future, it's speculated that the body might be able to be thawed out and revived with newer, more sophisticated resuscitation techniques. This essentially means, for practical purposes, means essentially resurrecting a dead body. I mean, it's more than just resuscitation, although it has been described as extended resuscitation or suspended resuscitation. It's essentially reanimation of a corpse, and of course, there's all kinds of occult elements to that, isn't there? But it is the storage of human remains in the speculative hope of resurrection that might be possible in the future. It's generally reviewed as a pseudoscience and quackery. Now, this all began quite recently. I say recently in history. It began in the United States in the early '60s because there was a book by Robert Ettinger called what's the book called? Let me just have a look. It's annoying because I've got some of my notes are in a browser and my browser's working very slowly. Now it's freezing human cells has been around much longer. Deep freezing human cells, for example, we know we can freeze sperm and ova, so it's now possible to have a baby without having sex. And this has been around since the 1950s. In fact, in 1954, some women had babies from sperm that had been deep frozen, in other words, cryogenically suspended. Now, the word cryogenic only refers to human cells. Cryonics is like whole bodies. But someone decided to think, well, maybe we should extend this to an entire human body. It was a guy called Robert Ettinger who wrote that's it, 1962, The Prospect of Immortality. And from then on, it sort of became a bit of a craze, and there was a number of rather incompetent organisations were founded. They were basically con men, confidence tricksters. For example, there was a guy called Robert Nelson, whose name is kind of a pariah within his name is absolute mud within the modern cryonics movement. But he set up something called the Cryonic Society of California, which appears to be basically a front for an embezzlement organisation. He had a very, very basic freezing and embalming setup in a room in a basement underneath a chapel at a cemetery, and he basically bought liquid nitrogen and some dewars, these canisters that are used to preserve the bodies, and he did a terrible job. But he made a lot of money, because it's expensive to do this. And it didn't take long before the whole system was exposed as completely ridiculous. The organisation went bankrupt. Nelson did a runner with the money, and the bodies had to be simply returned to the undertakers and buried conventionally. So it's now what's happened since then. There have been several. Things have got a little bit better over by the end of the 60s. Things were calming down, even though there's no regulation of this. There's no licensing as such, but was a form of regulation. So, for example, there were several organisations set up. For example, the first one was a company called Alcor, which was set up in 1972. Then 4 years later, in 1976. There was a company, it was Ettinger himself, actually, the guy who came up with the idea, founded the Cryonics Institute. They're both in the United States. Apparently, these are the two main ones. They're both very similar. They're both of a similar size and budget. They both have a similar number of members. So they're basically pretty much the same. And by then, they'd sort of perfected the art a bit better. And there were a number of people, actually, who actually came to them and it did actually die and were cryopreserved. And one of them was actually a guy called James Bedford. Now he was first actually frozen in 1967 when he died. He was actually frozen, and he was kept independently by the family. They actually paid to have him preserved in a dewar in their home. It was actually in the garage. Now, of course, there was a lot of fuss about this legally. The council were knocking on the door saying, "Hang on a minute, you can't just store dead bodies in your home. It's it's a bit dodgy." And so they moved them around several times until eventually Alcor was founded in 1972, and then Ettinger Bedford. This guy James Bedford was it? Yeah, James Bedford was finally transformed. Finally transferred to this organisation where he still remains today at its current location. It's a very sophisticated outfit at Scottsdale, Arizona. So, and the other one, the Cryonics Institute, is also it has a very, very similar facility in a place called in Detroit, in Michigan, USA. I believe it's now moved, I think. It's in a place called Charter Township of Clinton in Michigan, so it's in that sort of same area, the same state. Clinton, yeah. Nothing to do with Bill Clinton, I hope. But James Bedford is actually the only person who originally died and was cryopreserved before 1974, who is still preserved today. So the first decade of cryonics was a pretty slapdash and awful thing, very, very badly done, and it took a while to get the art perfected. And one of the biggest things they learnt is you can't just freeze people, right? By say freeze, you can't just stick them in a freezer, and the reason is this: ice. Ice, ice. You always think of ice as preserving things, but ice does not preserve. Ice on the outside will preserve. Ice internally is very, very damaging. Like if you put a cucumber in the freezer and freeze it, when you thaw it out, it's all floppy. The reason it's all floppy is because the ice, the internal water within it, freezes into ice crystals, including the water within the cells, and they rip the cells apart. And it's basically the whole thing is it's basically whatever you put in, the body would be ruined. It would basically be shattered from the inside by ice, because water is unusual among elements. Among compounds, substances, in that when you make it colder, it expands. Most things, like metal, for example, you make it hot. If you make metal hotter, it expands. If you make water colder, it expands. Ice is 11%, has 11% more volume than water, which is why it floats. Because it has a little bit of buoyancy, but inside your body it's actually devastating. So if you freeze a dead body, you have to get the ice. You have to get as much water as possible out of the dead body before you submit it to really cold temperatures. I'm just going to see if anyone else has joined the. Rhiannon says deep fried. I don't know if I should say that word on YouTube. But Rhiannon, you said that. Do you know Jeffrey Epstein was one of these people who went in for this? Now he wanted his head frozen and his genitalia. So literally, what you just said was true. Oh God. Michael Snow, hello. Has anyone else joined? I just want to say hello to. But welcome all of you. I probably won't have time to read every single one of your comments. Sorry, because you're gonna have to scroll through them all and everything like that. But what I'll do is I'll open it up for a discussion in a minute, but I just want to go through the basics. Now, I think it was Donna. Hello, Goonlove, how are you? I think Donna was saying that she was eating her dinner. Now, I'm going to just describe the process by which people are put in, people who've died are put into cryopreservation, and so it may not be. I'm not sure if I should do this as someone's eating. But what you do is at first you sign up for one of the organisations, like it's either Alcor or the Cryonics Institute. There's one called Cryonics now in Russia, and there's a third one in the United States which is quite small, I believe. And I can't. Oh, there's Cryonics. That's it. So Cryonics, which is in Russia. I'd probably recommend Russia more than the United States anyway. And there is actually another small cryonics organisation somewhere else. But Alcor and the Cryonics Institute are the two main ones. And what you do is you have to sign up for them. Now it's not cheap. It costs £80,000 to have your body frozen or dehydrated and then frozen because of the process. But you can have just your head done. The idea being that your brain can be then everything about you is in your brain, and therefore they can genetically engineer a new body when the technology arrives, which means you may have to wait a bit longer before you're revived, because it's possible they could probably resuscitate you at a time before they can grow you a new body. But that's the idea. The idea is that stem cells and everything will be perfected, and they can grow you a new body. With a few sort of like adaptations, if you want, or changes, A flatter stomach and a larger penis would be nice, guys. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Things like that. But they could like maybe cosmetically improve you. God, what an awful idea. Everyone would end up looking like bloody Barbie and Ken, wouldn't they? Oh, what a nightmare. What a nightmare. Now, what you do is now you can pay for this with a life insurance policy, and that covers that covers the actual process of putting you into deep freeze. Now, after that, you can buy a share basically there's like a trust fund which pays for maintenance. Maintenance of the facility is not much. You just basically have to pay for the gas. It's very deep frozen, very very cold liquid gas that they use, and it's nitrogen. I think it's liquid nitrogen or something, and you have to pay for that. There's a trust fund which is connected basically to a hedge fund organisation on the stock market that pays for that. Apparently, how it works. That's what happens is when you die. Presumably, if you don't get like if you're in a plane crash or something, or you drown at sea, no one can find your body. There's not nothing they can do. Hello, Rick Horden. How do you do? Nihilist life matter. Oh God, I'm not. If they re-engineer my body, I want Hunter Biden's peanut. Oh God, you don't know where that's been though, do you? You don't know where it's been. Hello, Pat Riot. How do you do? But believe it or not, Della says in the garage. Yeah, they had this body in the garage. They kept it there for years, and the local council got suspicious because they kept having deliveries of canisters of liquid nitrogen, and they thought and the liquid nitrogen, the gas suppliers they thought it's a bit odd because they don't normally deliver to private addresses. When the council went round and inspected the place, they found basically James Bedford, deceased in a great big dewar, in a dewar. One of these, a dewar is like a canister. It's an insulated canister for very low temperature gas, and he was in there. And they said basically, you've got to move this to a proper facility. You bury him. Yeah. And David says it's a con. Once a person is dead, their spirit departs and gives up to the ghost. There'll be no resurrection this way. David, that's a very interesting question. Hold that thought, because I want you to repeat it later when I finish my lead off, because that's an important question important statement you just made. Yeah. Now, so what they do is, once you die, you have to be legally declared dead. You have to be, the doctor has to be present to say you've definitely snuffed it. If you don't, you can get into terrible trouble. And indeed, there have been some awful situations where there has been terrible legal trouble, including accusations of murder and assisting suicide, because somebody basically wants to get into the cold, into the cold before they're properly dead. So that's it. You got to wait. You got to wait until you're really dead. Otherwise there's trouble. Yeah. Now, so what the best thing to do actually, if you know you're sort of on your last legs, is to move to a place close to the institute where you're going to be interred, cryonically interred. Now, like I say, that's either the Cryonics Institute or the Alcor. So best thing to do is go there. Now, I know that Alcor actually rent a room in a nearby hospice, because the closer you are to the location where you're going to be frozen, the easier it is. Oh, I don't believe it. Liberace started. So once you're declared legally dead, then the cryonicists can get to work. They basically have like an ambulance, and they take your body. First thing is they keep you as cold as possible without actually freezing you. So they put ice packs around you, but they make sure your temperature doesn't actually go below freezing to begin with. And they also put on a CPR compression machine. Now, I've seen one of these at work at the hospital. It's basically something that it's like a piston that continually presses against your chest. It's odd to see them. It's odd to see people using them. I've seen them at the hospital many times for resuscitation. So that keeps your circulation going, and you're also given oxygen. You're intubated. There's a tube put down your throat, and Rick's put piano. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, crafty knowledge. Another good point. I'll come on to that. So hold that thought as well. Now, when you get to the institute, the first thing they ask you to do, and this is why, like I said, if you're eating your dinner, I'm sorry about this, they have to drain the blood out of you. So you're taken to an operating theatre where they attach the means to remove your blood and as much of the liquid as possible from your body, and replace it with a cryopreservative. Now, this is a chemical that's actually highly toxic. It's actually alcohol based, and they know when the cryopreservative is entering your body because you turn orange, so your skin turns orange. Hello, John Kierkegaard. How do you do? John Kierkegaard says, do you get your own space for your head, or do you have to look at the others there? Creepy. Oh, well, you have these dewars, these canisters, which can hold, I think, about 6 bodies head down in the liquid gas, head down, so that the most important bit is the bottom where it's the coldest, and if the gas starts draining off for any reason and it can't be refilled, that's the last bit to go. But you could also put like 8 in the same space. You can put like, I think, 10 heads or something. Do you know Aubrey de Grey? You know the guy. I don't know if you know Aubrey de Grey. He is like he's getting his head done. He's got this big beard. I think he'd have to cut that off. Hello, David Schultz. How do you do? How do you do, guys? And then what they do when they've done that, they then put you into a box, and over the next 10 days or so, it's this big box where they don't put liquid gas on you yet. They put like proper gas, which just cools you down, but to below the freezing point, and it cools you eventually down to minus 100 and I think it's minus 137 degrees. Like they keep you at. It's very cold. Yeah. They cool you down to minus 100. I believe it's minus 137 degrees, which is much colder. I mean, the coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth, I think, is minus 90 or something in Siberia or Antarctica. This goes down to minus 137 on liquid nitrogen, or maybe even colder. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's very cold. And then when you reach that temperature, finally, then they place you in permanent storage. Hopefully not permanent. They place you in permanent storage. And at some point, the idea is they can bring you back. They can, using technology of the future, speculative, science fictional technology of the future, they can bring you back. Now, this is the whole point. The whole point of that book, why I call them back from heaven is that everyone who dies is put into this cryonic suspension, and then there's these huge buildings full of people. No one gets buried anymore. Everyone goes into these cryonic suspension. But of course, as you know, if you listen to my review and you read the book, you'll know it's a big scam. You see what I mean? It's actually a big scam. Now, I just want to do the notice comments. Actually, I should go through the notice comments. Because where are the notice comments? What have I done with the notice? Because I often forget those, so I'm going to go to the notice comments and just I'm just waiting for the page to load. 1 sec. Notice of upcoming live stream. Okay. I don't know how many of you watched the actual video I made about this, because I've got much more. Everything's all sort of like laid out in there. Here we go. Right. I've only got a handful of comments here from people. I've got Dark Corners UK says, this reminds me, I need to defrost some chicken for tea tonight. Oh God. Well, I hope I'm not putting you off your dinner, Dark Corners. Rick Horden says, what the devil are they up to with this lark? Are they purely mistaken, or have they been made privy to information which leads them to this action in a confident manner? I personally think that this, my own opinions on life after death, and therefore, so this is kind of superfluous to needs. However, I don't think there's anything sinister behind it. I can't see the reply someone's put here. Well, Diego Rivera says, take the fish fingers out of the freezer. Oh God, yeah. Okay, so let's go to. I'm going to go now, and what I'll do now is I'll just see if there's any comments on the. Because for some reason I can't see all the comments here. I'll go to see if there's any comments on the comments list. Oh, someone's complaining today that I don't read their comments. It's not. They were a bit indignant about it as well. But goodness me, I'm not going to deliberately miss someone's comments. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes the comments don't appear. Steve Mumbling goes on and on about this. It's annoying. You're deleting my comments. No, I'm not deleting people's comments. I'm not ignoring anyone's comments. Anyway. Here we go. Comments. YouTube really annoys me. It really does. Okay. Stephen Truthseeker. Stephen Truthseeker says underneath Rick Horden, They the Illuminati get up to all sorts behind the scenes. Yeah, I don't actually think there's anything Illuminati-esque about this, really. I just don't. I think it's. I will go into a little about why people do it and where it all comes from and things like that. But Tricky Who says here, "Kun the meantime on your other vids." I don't know what that means. Kun the meantime. Kun has dashes between the words. I think that's it. Right. Okay, sorted. I'll close that tab. So, now, one of the things that's interesting about this, about the people who decide to do this, I mean, I don't want to repeat everything I said in the video, the background video. I mean, the idea was I was originally going to do this video like a couple of weeks after the background video in November, and I didn't. Look, who actually goes in for this? And the answer is it's not no surprise. It's mostly people who are non-religious. But it doesn't seem to be very, very popular. There's only about 1,500 people who are signed up for this process, who are fully signed up. There are about 200 odd people in storage at the moment, and Walt Disney's not one of them, by the way. That's an urban myth. But there are about 200 people are currently in storage, and 1,500 people on the list, but how many atheo, skeptico, materialo humanists are there? Who there are millions of them. There are millions of them. I mean, the latest census indicated that like up to a quarter of the people in this country say they have no religion or spiritual beliefs. So that's millions. So why, if you think the idea of cryonics is that you can kind of extend your life, you don't have to die. Essentially, this is a very weird kind of scientific afterlife. This is a scientific materialistic alternative to heaven. In which case, there's no God doing it; it's science. They basically put you in a very, very deeply cold state, so your body's preserved, and then science plays the role of God. So why aren't more of these people doing it? And there's maybe several reasons. Firstly, they may believe that the scientific consensus on cryonics is that it is quackery. It's a pseudoscience. That it's nonsense. And one scientist put it quite blithely. He said, or pithily rather, he said, it's like trying to recreate a live pig by giving the kiss of life to a rasher of bacon. Then again, I think there's another reason. So a failure of imagination is probably one of the reasons why they do it, because the skeptics will just believe that scientific consensus. But there is another reason. There is another reason why I think skeptics, atheo, skeptico, materialo humanists are repelled from cryonics. I mean, are there any non-humanists? Any non-materialists? There's a Buddhist couple. I mentioned a Buddhist couple who had cryonics, but they had their 3-year-old kid done, which is very sad. Yeah, Rhiannon, it says it sounds like hell rather than heaven to me. Well, you don't know. You don't know if you are one of these. They even use the word cryonaut. If you decide to do this, supposing it works, what's going to happen to you when you are revived? How long is it going to be? 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years? You will come out into a world where everyone you know who didn't go in for this as well, or couldn't be revived, is gone. They're gone from your life. You will not know anyone. You'll also have to deal with a very different world. A world which not only may be technologically very much more, the technology more sophisticated in terms of medical technology, certainly. It's by very definition if they're going to revive you, but a world which may be very different in terms of politics, in terms of society, in terms of culture, in terms of psychology. You may well find it quite a shock. Someone from the 18th century brought into the modern world would be astounded. Not just that the way that technology has changed, but the way society has changed. It's possible language will have changed. You may find you can't even speak the language. Yes, it would be hell. It could be hell. For example, in the film Sleeper is very funny, but what happens is Woody Allen's character, he's resurrected. He's actually revived and he's recovered. And hello, Stephen Truthseeker. How do you do? He's recovered in a world which in the future, which is basically like a new world order global state. And the only reason he's revived by these dissidents who are rebelling against this Orwellian government. Now, it sounds horrible, but it's actually very funny. It's a very light-hearted, extremely witty comedy. It really is. It's partly a silent comedy. It's very good. So don't let it It's not actually very grim. It's actually extremely riotous and lovely. It's a great thing. Yeah, it's a great thing. Now. So where was I? Yeah, why don't all the atheist skeptical materialists go in for it? Now, as I said, it could be that they just don't believe it's possible because they believe the scientific consensus, which says it's not possible. But it could also because they don't want to lose their MBA. Now, cryonics essentially is a denial of MBA. Now, does anyone not know what I mean by MBA? Regular viewers will know, but does anyone not know what I mean when I say MBA? Anyone? I need to give an explanation if anyone doesn't know. So I think, do you all know what I mean by MBA? I think, no, do you not know Nihilist Lives Matter? You don't know what that means? Michael Snow doesn't either. Okay, no problem. You're right. Okay, I'll explain what I mean by MBA. MBA stands for Materialist Bravery Award. You guys haven't been watching me that long, have you? It's something I go on about quite a lot, so... oh, Della says it makes me think of basketball, yeah. Or Master of Business Administration. This goes back to... If you watch any of my skeptic videos... yeah. No, it's MB, Mike Bravo Alpha. Yeah. No worries, Della. I will give an explanation. Hi, John Fused. How you doing? It's MBA stands for Materialist Bravery Award, and it's something I realised during my analysis of the skeptic movement. Because if you've ever watched my videos on skeptics, you'll know that I devoted an entire section of this talk to that. Now, I've even given out awards, like little medals, to people. Just as a joke. I sent one to Susan Blackmore. I sent one to Richard Dawkins. Oh. Now basically, when it comes up to it's all to do with belief in the afterlife or life after death. Now, there's two main views. One is you continue in one form or another, whether it's heaven or Valhalla, which David has just said he doesn't believe in. He doesn't believe in Valhalla. Lisa, hello Lisa, how you doing? So either you believe in that, or you take the materialistic view, which is basically your consciousness is simply a product of your biological brain function. It's nothing more than that, which means that the moment you die, that's the end of you, because your brain shuts down, and therefore everything about you, including your sense of self, also shuts down forever. Because it's actually created by this machine inside our skull, and that there's no such thing as a soul or spirit. It doesn't exist. Those are the two. Nihilist Lives Matter. Yes, of course you can like Richard Dawkins if you want. It's up to you. I don't like him, but you can like him. Now, for this reason, that the skeptics say, very often there's actually books been written about this. Which I've actually read. I've read some of the. There's like something called The Myth of the Afterlife, and I've read some of the articles in it. It's like an anthology, which basically there's a lot of like philosophical ideas about this, which says basically that religion and belief in the afterlife emerged as a result of Thanatos, as it's called, death awareness. Is that the right word? I just want to check I've got my definitions right. Death, awareness of death, which is it's Thanatos. It's something. I think it was Freud who actually coined the phrase Thanatos. Yeah. In Greek mythology, Thanatos was the personification of death, but it has a name. It's psychology. Psychology. Thanatos in psychology. It refers to the knowledge of that one day we're going to die, and our loved ones are going to die, and our loved ones who are already dead are dead. It's that kind of thing. Now, it's thought that only a certain number of animal species have this ability. Humans, obviously, and elephants seem to have a very, very powerful Thanatos, actually. When an elephant dies, they go through it's almost like a kind of funeral they go through. Here we go. According to Freud, humans have a life instinct called eros and a death instinct called thanatos. Oh right, that's not quite. Oh right, it's right. I've got the definition wrong. Okay, that's not what thanatos is. I made a mistake. Okay, no problem. Basically, it's the idea that certain animal species have the ability to see the future and to project possibilities in the future, which of course includes death. Other animals are kind of, blissfully ignorant, to quote this guy, Jonathan Gallup, his name is. Can I find that brilliant? Let me just find that brilliant clip. Because it's so cool, man. It's so cool. It's so funny. Can I find it or can I not? Okay. Okay. I'm not. If it's too difficult, I won't press this issue. Sorry, I'm going at quite a slow pace tonight. Right, where is it? Oh, bloody heck. Hang on. Marcus do Sotoi. Let's see, is that there? Marcus do Sotoi is the presenter. BBC The Code. There's BBC Horizon. I can't find it, but anyway, I can't find it. I can't find it. But it's something called The Secret You or something like that. It may not be. It may actually not be on BBC anymore. It may not be on BBC anymore. It may have gone. But okay. Marcus du Sautoy is actually he's the current professor of the Simonyi. He's the Simonyi Professor of the Public Understanding of Science. That very Orwellian term, which of course was... It's called The Secret You, that's it. Let me just find this bit. I actually made an entire video about this. I made a whole video and it got a copyright strike. Bastards. Fucking bastards. You gave me a copyright strike on a video that's like about 20 years old. But I sent Marcus du Sautoy's MBA for this, I did. Let's have a look.
It's showing the signal. So if I were to say to you, raise your... This is my... Henry.
So I'm rambling a lot tonight. I'm sorry about that.
Allow him to look.
Very familiar individuals.
Well, I found the video.
If they have that sense of eye.
All right. That's enough of that. So I'm wasting your time. I'm sorry. This idea that hello, Liz. Oh, hello. How do you do, lizard skinned? That's basically the whole idea of reason people believe in an afterlife is essentially it's a psychological reaction against this death awareness. So it's kind of like it's a comforting fantasy. It's a comfort blanket, and that the people that it's become very, very ingrained in our culture because people know they're going to die, and it's upsetting to think that that's going to be the end of us. As Stephen Law admitted, Stephen Law is an atheo-skeptical materialist, but he said, I know I'm going to die, and that makes me feel funny. Hello, TK, how you doing? And that makes me feel upset. I don't like that. It's frightening. According to this, what Du Sautoy says is this is the price we pay for consciousness. It's like, fuck. Oh, what a idiotic thing. I don't know. I wish I could find this thing for you because it's actually quite amusing. I wonder if I can find the actual Panmo TV video I did, and I'll show you that instead because I just want to show you this because it's so. Yeah, here we are. It's called BBC Horizon MBA City. Here we go. Let me just go on.
Hospital porters' pride and dignity. Materialist.
This is me. When was this? 2011. My God, this is 11 years ago. Here we go.
That's it. Can you see that?
Can you all? Hope you can all hear this.
I've got two examples from the film which I'm going to show you. Okay, this is the first one.
The ability to envisage the future has a profoundly unsettling consequence. The price you pay for being aware of your own existence.
Oh, actually, I can see where it is now. I can see where it is in the video. It's sort of around here, so that's
Always
good.
wondered whether animals are conscious. Do they have a sense of I?
And how did you come up with this beautiful idea of the mirror self-recognition test?
Oh, here we
One day
go.
I found myself shaving in front of the mirror, and it occurred to me, wouldn't it be interesting to see if chimpanzees could recognize themselves in mirrors?
So do chimpanzees pass this test?
Indeed they do. Not only do chimpanzees pass the test, but orangutans and humans. Hundreds of other
This is Charles
species have
Gallup.
tested. And to date, the only compelling evidence is for chimpanzees, orangutans, and humans.
It is this that distinguishes us great apes from other animals and gives us a unique...
Well, that's actually not true, because I think lots of other animals also seem to have self-awareness. Elephants, like I said, have a very strong death awareness.
relationship with the world.
To be self-aware means that you can engage in mental time travel. You can think about yourself in relationship to things that happened in the past, the present, and may even happen in the future.
Our heightened level of self-awareness has bestowed upon mankind an evolutionary advantage that's allowed us to shape the world according to our vision. But the ability to envisage the future has a profoundly unsettling consequence.
The price you pay for being aware of your own existence is having to confront the inevitability of your own individual demise. Death awareness is the price we pay for self-awareness.
It's a sobering experience to dwell on the thought that we know one day our consciousness will disappear forever.
God. Oh. Alright, that's enough of that. Alright. Alright, guys. Well, that was a very roundabout way of saying that this is the reason why atheoskeptico-material-humanists and in the scientific world believe that ideas of religion and the afterlife have emerged. And they basically say, they extrapolate from that to say that it is essentially wishful thinking. Now, how many of you remember me talking about MBA, seeing as I've been going on, I spent about 10 minutes explaining this one point. I must apologise for that. You see, they say it's wishful thinking. It's belief in any of the so-called afterlife myths are wishful thinking. They are wishful thinking and nothing else. I've got to stop a minute. Sorry, Crafty. It's Crafty Nihilists are having their wedding anniversary. Oh, Crafty, both of you, many congratulations. Congratulations to you both. That's really great. Now, so that's the wishful thinking element. So I argue, and I explain more in more detail in my skeptic videos, that I believe this concept of wishful thinking cuts both ways. Because you could equally argue it is wishful thinking that there is no afterlife and that your consciousness ends with your death. And the reason is because it's all to do with social status and things like that. Because I think the skeptics and atheists do seem to have made this a kind of like a cornerstone of their self-esteem. And it's they believe, because if you believe that people who believe in the afterlife believe in it as a sort of comfort blanket to protect them from the awful finality of existence, it's almost a subtext. You can almost hear it as a subtext. By disbelieving in it, you are superior to those people. You are above them. You can lord it over them and say, well, I don't need that. I don't need that mental crutch to get out of my bed every day. Look at me. Look how superior I am. And my other skeptics here, they're superior. Let me just slap your back here and you can slap mine. And to cut a long story short, that I think is the basis of the other side of death awareness, which is the possibility of a real afterlife and the psychological need to reject it. Because if people believe in an afterlife, or if they ever prove that an afterlife is possible, then these atheists, the skeptics, won't be special anymore. They'll lose their social status, which I call materialist bravery award. Because it doesn't make you brave. It makes you better than everyone else. And let's face it, we all have an awareness of social status, don't we? And it's natural for people to want higher and higher social status. So, therefore, this is why I believe the wishful thinking argument cuts both ways. Now, if you are an atheo-skeptico-materialist and you are getting into cryonics, you are denying that. You're saying, well, I have to do something to stop myself dying. I can't bear the thought of dying and disappearing. Therefore, I'm going to do this through the atheo-scientific skeptical world to avoid it. Therefore, you are giving up your MBA. You are surrendering it. You are cucking. You're chickening out. That's what it means. And this is the main reason I think so few atheo-skeptico-materialists and humanists actually go in for cryonics. How long did it take me to explain that point? let me continue. All right, I'll try and speed up. Now, why am I interested in this? Because I'm personally, I haven't changed any of my beliefs when it comes to spiritual matters when I first started getting into this last year. And the reason is because my own death awareness has struck me hard. And I mean, it doesn't, as it happens, I do believe that there's an afterlife. I think, well, I can't prove it. There's no way to prove it, I don't think. It's not possible. But I think we've got good reason to be hopeful. I think we got good reason. My interest in psychical research has led me to believe there's more than enough evidence to suggest that we have every reason to be hopeful. So when you ask me, am I gonna get into cryonics? The answer is no. I can't prove that I don't need it, and I can't prove beyond all doubt that I'll continue after my death. But as I said, I think there's enough evidence. I think there's more than enough evidence for me to say no. I'm going to roll the dice and take my chances and spend the 80 grand on something else. Should I ever get 80 grand? I think there's enough evidence for me to just roll the dice and take my chances, I think. What is it like though? I mean, what would it be like if this works? Now, there's several possibilities. Now, the first is that cryonauts, to use that word, I suppose it would be a bit like you lose consciousness at the end of your life, and then presumably just like after you're resuscitated normally, you then regain consciousness, and you'll regain consciousness in the future, in the distant future, in a very, very different scenario than you would normally in a hospital. In a hospital, you normally regain your consciousness a couple of hours to maybe a couple of days after your resuscitation. In this case, it'd be decades, centuries, whatever. Would it be just like that? In which case, would you have a near-death experience during your cryonic suspension? Because we know that near NDEs, these amazing experiences people have, seem not to be attached to brain activity. So, as Dr. Peter Fenwick, Sam Parnia, Raymond Moody, and these other scientists have proven, I think they have proved it, or they've strongly indicated that you can't attach the experience people have to brain activity. So people have these really amazing experiences when doesn't seem to be any way for the brain to generate those experiences. So technically, you could have an NDE when you are deep frozen in a vat of liquid nitrogen. Your brain is completely frozen. Your heart is completely frozen solid. Would it be possible to have an NDE in that situation? The answer is yes. So would you just have this NDE and then you come back in the same way as you would normally? Would that be the case? But then again, this ties in with my free will video. Would it be possible to bring you back? But then what if it's not you? What if you're... Now, I'm not saying just you have no memory of what you were before, because I believe there's a 0 point of consciousness. which is independent from your memories, because the idea that if you lost all your memories and had new ones, you'd be a different person. I don't believe that's the case. There is a 0 point of consciousness. But what if you came back and you were kind of you were a kind of zombie twin? This ties in with what I talked about in my free will video about David Deutsch and his conversation with Sam Harris, because there's that book I told you about as well. I won't repeat myself. You can go and watch the videos. I'm not going to put links everywhere. You can find it. But in my free will video, I talked about a book by Terrell Madonna called The Soul of Anna Klein, which is about a young girl who undergoes a medical procedure which leaves her without a soul. She's still alive. She can still talk. She can still walk. But she has no consciousness. Her consciousness has left the body and become a spirit. She's essentially become a consciousness. She's become a biological robot. Is that what you would be? Because if your soul leaves the body, I don't have time to read all these comments out, but David said something about how it wouldn't work because your consciousness would have already gone to heaven or something. I know David has his own particular beliefs. But what if that's true? Hello, Gary. So I've got to say hello to Piper and Gary Robinson, and Welsh Ripper. I may have missed other people joining as well. So the question is, would you come back? Would your body be revived? But there is no consciousness to it because your soul has departed. That's what I'm basically saying. And you would essentially be a zombie twin, as David Deutsch calls it. This is pretty. That would be quite disturbing, wouldn't it? To have a world where have these people like this little girl Anna Klein in the book, wandering around. Just wandering around, but just without any spirit inside them. Yeah. That's the question. Or would you actually come back as you are? I mean, would you come back with all your memories intact and your spirit? Your spirit would not have left permanently your body because you wouldn't have died permanently. I don't know. So I'm going to ask a question now. I've already answered one question. I mean, the question I suppose you would want to ask is, I expect some of you already asked it and I haven't seen it, is, Ben, are you going to become a cryonicist? And the answer is no, as I've explained. I'm just interested, would any of you do it? Let me put a yes in chat right now if you would become a cryonicist and you'd be frozen when you're dead. Crafty thinks I look 13 years old. Oh, is that in that Marcus Do So Toy video? That's actually a comedy. It's actually called BBC Horizon NBA City, if you want to watch it. It's kind of a comedy video. So I don't think so far no one says that they would do it. Even just hypothetically as a maybe. Would any of you do it? Which is interesting to know. Jock, no way. Right. So far it's no's all the way down. You all agree with me, and we wouldn't do this. No. I wouldn't do it even if it didn't cost any money. Actually, I wouldn't do it at all. Even as it is, it's actually quite expensive. Diego Rivera says, I missed the important point on cryonics. Space travel. Okay. User 1, no. Stephen Truthseeker, no. Jake said, you do it if it was for free. Alright. No freaking way, says Crafty. David, waste of money, false hope. Pat Riot. And in those days, men shall seek death and find it not. Oh, that's right. Della says, no, I never want to come back. Yeah. So it seems to be pretty universal. Now, I don't quite understand what... So all you guys seem to agree with me. No one in chat seems to think otherwise. I'm curious, actually. Diego Rivera, what do you mean space travel? What do you mean by space travel? What's space travel got to do with it? Crafty, making assholes rich. Ferdinand says, I look bad enough unfrozen. Give myself to the maggot god. Oh, Jake Yorkman says you saw a UFO. Well, that's interesting, Jake. Cool. Yeah. So I'll check your channel out if you filmed it. So it would be Emma Davidson. Hello, how do you do? Yeah, it would be pointless. You see, I'm not sure I want to have an extra long life in this world. I'm not sure. Even I do actually wonder if there's a reason why I think we don't live forever. That we have this senescence, the fact that we age and die, and it turns out that aging and dying is actually not just something that happens because of the time where our body goes. So it's not like a car or something which has wear and tear. It is literally encoded into our DNA. Oh right, frozen humans reawake when they get to the planet. Now, Diego Rivera, you're talking about something different. You're talking about what's known as hibernation or suspended animation. Now, this is a big staple of science fiction. Arthur C. Clarke has a lot of this in it. Now, this is basically where you don't freeze, or you don't kill yourself. You don't freeze. You just lower your body. What happens is an astronaut will go into suspended animation, like in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they deliberately lower the body temperature. They make them unconscious and lower the body temperature to a very low level, about 5 degrees centigrade, so above freezing, but very, very cold. In which case, the workings of the body, the functioning of the body is very greatly reduced. So, for example, your heart beats once a minute, something like that. Your circulation is very slow. There's no brain activity, things like that. Now, you might say to yourself, well. And then what happens is, in that situation, you don't get any older. You have suspended animation, or your aging is slowed by like 100-fold. The Alan Jones says stasis, right? That's something from Red Dwarf, which is slightly different. It's literally an electronic field which stops time. Now this is different, and so while you're in that state, while you're in that state, you don't actually age at like 100th of the rate you normally do. So on a long space mission, you could be put into suspended animation and then reanimated at the end of the voyage 100 years later, and you'd have aged maybe 6 months, the equivalent of 6 months. Now that's never been tried. I mean, technically, is there a reason why it wouldn't be possible? Because basically, this is something that millions of animals do every year in winter. Suspended animation is essentially hibernation, which hundreds of species of animals do. Squirrels, rats, frogs, many others. In the winter, the bears do it as well. Big animals like bears. They just go into. They don't sleep. They go into a cave somewhere, and their body temperature cools, and their hearts beats once a minute. And in the spring, they just are revived. So could humans do that? I mean, obviously, it's not part of our natural physiology. But when an animal is in hibernation, they don't age. They don't age at all. It's like a very deep sleep. Oh, right. Horianon says it is a medical term. Okie doke. Right, you are. Oh, thanks, Emma. Thank you very much. I think Emma is addressing me. I hope she is, anyway. But it's a good way of getting around situations like on long space voyages, where it would take centuries to get anywhere, thousands of years maybe to get anywhere. Lizard Skinner says Ripley and the Cat. Yes, Alien. The film Alien is a good example of that. Yeah, there's another film called The Passenger, which is actually not very good, which has that feature in it as well. So that is not the same as cryonics. You are alive when you're in this situation. You go into a kind of hibernation. Cryonics is different. You're dead and your body's frozen. It's different, very different indeed. So now, the question I want to ask you guys, is firstly, I mean, we've already answered some of these questions. Firstly, what would you be like if you were brought back? Now, the answer is we don't know. I mean, the idea is that they'd have to be able to cure whatever kills you. So if you had a heart attack, they'd have to find some way to repair your heart, maybe with nanobots or something like that. Maybe they could give you a new body if you're just a neuro, you just have a head. You'd need that, obviously. You'd need to have a body. They couldn't just leave you as a head. Not like in that Dennis Potter series, Cold Lazarus. That was very good. It's worth seeing Cold Lazarus and the Karaoke. Cold Lazarus is a sequel to Karaoke about a guy he lives in the modern age. He dies and he's put into suspended animation, into cryonics rather. And the question is, when would they bring you back? That's another question. So, does anyone want to speculate on time periods? Because Jock, all right then. Yeah, Jock says I couldn't resist it. Okie doke. So when? I mean, it all depends on how soon technology could be arranged to bring you back and repair you, fix you up, and bring you back. Well, as soon as that happens, it could be done. It could technically be done. Whether it would be done at that point, who knows? What there'd be maybe legal processes to go through. We don't even know if it would be legal. It could be all the bodies would have to be put underground. Hello, Joe Glover. How do you do? It heads in jars in Futurama. Yeah, Cold Lazarus is worth seeing. Yeah. Diego Vera, will David Attenborough be frozen? He did make Life in the Freezer. Oh God, I hope not. Just imagine waking up hundreds of years later and have him going on about overpopulation and shit like that. Oh fucking hell! No, God, no. Bury the bastard or burn him when he goes. After he's dead. Legal disclaimer: after he's dead, bury him or burn him. As far as cremate him, yeah. Same. Oh God, not Professor Brian Cox. Can you imagine it? Yeah. Noah's Flower says, my cousin told me about a guy working in a cryonics lab who was allowed a free try of the procedure. He took advantage of the offer and is now dead. I'm not surprised. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, by the way, Richard, David Attenborough, I'd like to say to David Attenborough, you know, if you think there are too many people in the world, well, why don't you set a good example? Practice what you preach. Come on, mate. You know. What the future will be like? Wheelie World. God, I don't know. Michael Snow, will Brian Cox be preserved? I bloody well hope not. Yeah, so you don't know what you'd be you may well be very different to what you are now. You live in a world which is very different. It could be like some kind of very funny dystopia like Woody Allen in Sleeper. Or it could be you just find yourself your head revived in an equally strange dystopia, not so funny, called Cold Lazarus. How? That's the question. I mean, how? Obviously, the answer of how you could bring someone back would only be known to future scientists. When? Again, I don't know. So I don't know. So we've kind of covered everything, I think. Brain Cox literally means dickhead. Yes. David Attenborough's used up all his carbon tokens. Yes. You see, this is the thing. I mean, you don't know who would be with you. You could find yourself completely alone. You'd have to make new friends. You wouldn't even have a family. But anyway, that's my notes finished. So if anyone wants to add anything, I mean, I'm open up. I mean, you can, if you want to bring up other subjects, bring up other subjects. We can go off topic now, as far as I'm concerned. That's fine. Like we haven't been doing that already. Lisa, bring back David Bellamy. David Bellamy. Good old David Bellamy, yeah. Love the guy. He's fantastic. He's a brave soul. Speaks his mind. Brain cock. That's Jeffrey Epstein. I should point out, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein did not have his way. Piper, who's going to watch NASA SLS launch of Artemis 1 on Monday? Piper, I'm going to watch it. I'll probably... Well, I might be working. I don't know. It depends what time of day it is. But I will watch it if it's on. Apparently it's going to be an unmanned mission, though. There's no astronauts on board. So... It's going to be unmanned. Oh, by the way, I refuse to use the words crude and uncrewed. That's bloody pathetic political correctness. It's manned spaceflight or unmanned spaceflight. So Diego Vera, apparently they're saying they could actually put astronauts on the moon by 2025 or something like that. This is rather like, well, we know what happened last time. Kennedy says we'll get a man to the moon by the end of this decade, and of course, you know what I think about that. The question is, could they do it for real this time? TK, why are we talking about cryonics? Because it's a series, TK, that I began in November, and I've been putting it off for so long because other things keep getting in the bloody way. That's it, yeah. So now finally I get a chance to do it, and now I can say, all right, I've done the damn cryonics thing. So yeah. David Schultz, Cryonics. Did you ever see the film Iceman in 1984? No. What's that, David? Rhiannon said, if I had to spend eternity trapped in a physical body in the company of these people I have to work with, I would choose eternal oblivion every time. You know, Rhiannon, I think, yeah, there are worse things than oblivion in this world. Definitely. David says, the Artemis moon mission should be very interesting. However, the certain skeptics won't believe elements or the whole, regardless of what's presented. Well, David, it all depends if there's evidence. I mean, like I said, the reason I question the Apollo missions is because of the evidence. That's why I do the Apollo detectives. If those suspicious elements are absent this time, then I'll say, yeah, they walked on the moon. But Piper says the first manned launch might be next year. As soon as that. Wow, because this is going to go to the moon. Yeah, it's good. Can you believe that? All right. Now they're mentioning Ötzi. Now, yeah, Ötzi of the Alps. Yeah, this was a guy he's more than 500 years. I think it's about 7,000 years. Much older than that, Lynyrd Skynyrd. He was a guy found frozen in a glacier up in the Alps, on the Austrian-Italian border. He'd been trying to cross the mountains about 7,000 years ago. Yeah, very interesting. That, yeah. Ferdinand says, Google David Sinclair. He has some really interesting videos about extending life, if anyone's interesting. Ferdinand, I've never heard of him. I've heard of Paul Sinclair, who's like a ufologist and cryptozoologist. Yeah. No, Ötzi, I think, he's on display in a museum, but they have to keep him very cold. Yeah, they have to preserve him artificially now. Oh, we got someone called Cryonics Explained now. Cryonics is carrying out the mission that God and Jesus gave us in the Bible. Oh, tell us more. That's an interesting username. Cryonics Explained. So this is interesting that you are a religious cryonicist, I take it. So that seems almost contradictory, but I'll be interested to see that, yeah. David mentioned Stig of the Dump. I remember that's a book about a boy who plays on a rubbish tip, and he finds a little young cave boy called Stig, and he plays with him. David Schultz says, check it on the computer. Alright, I don't know what you mean, sorry. Bernie says, Men on the Moon, that's been done 50 years ago. What's going on, Ben? Well, it wasn't done 50 years ago, Bernie. Not by the Apollo missions. Why is it being brought back now? Maybe it is real. I mean, it's possible it's real, or maybe they solved the radiation problem and all the other problems. Who knows, yeah. Diego Rivera says, NASA says it will be the first woman and a person of colour on the moon. So that's great, isn't it? You could be an astronaut, but you go for the selection process and you could pass everything, and they'll say, yes, but you're a fucking white male. We don't want you. Ferdinand says, Paul Sinclair and Ben? When will that happen, Ben? That would be ace. Oh, Paul, I've met Paul several times. I'd love to go. Well, funny enough, there was someone else who was talking about. Someone else was thinking about making a documentary, and I don't want to say too much because it was supposed to be private, but so I won't say who it is or what the details. But there's someone who suggested to me, and I suggested a sort of like a documentary involving me, Paul, and a few other people up in Bempton. Yeah. David says, "Have you seen the movie Moonwalkers?" Yes, I have, and it's quite funny. It has some silly humour. It has a bit of good humour in it. But I did a review, David. If you want to go to her Panmo Voice, I've done a review of Moonwalkers. I've written a full review. Cryonics Explained. The Bible tells us that God wants us to defeat death using science. Does he? Where does God say that? Jesus told his followers to raise the dead. Well, Cryonics, if I remember rightly, look, I'm not a Christian, and I'm down. David Splendid Isolation is going to get into a massive debate with you right now. I'm not a Christian, but from what I gather, Jesus actually he died on the cross and was buried, and then on the third day he rose again in accordance with the Scriptures, as it says in the Nicene Creed. And he then came back to his followers. He was seen walking around outside the tomb. And he said to, what was it? I think it was Mary Magdalene. He said to Mary Magdalene, "Why do you look for the dead? Why do you look for the living among the dead?" and things like that. Yeah, Rick. Yes, I'm going to the ASAP conference. Yes, I am. So, but then there's no suggestion that there should be some kind of heavy industrial method for doing this. It's supposed to be God's grace that does it. Cryonics explained. David says, from the Buddhist perspective, there is no self, only the state of consciousness continues on. That's true, David, although surprisingly, a lot of Buddhists believe in reincarnation, but there are Buddhists who are cryonicists. It's the one religion which seems to be popular. But I'm sorry my lead-off took so long, by the way. All this bloody... Yeah. Crafty, yeah, we're going to have a good knees up. There's going to be you two, Rhiannon, Jackie, me, Nick the gardener, Rick, and you're going to be there. That's great. Well, we'll have to meet up. I mean, we will meet up, obviously. Yeah. Lisa says Jesus is mainly allegory, not literally, in my opinion. Nothing. I like Rudolf Steiner is very interesting. I actually I read a book. I read his 1917 lecture. It was very good. There's like some minutes taken of his lecture in 1917. Very interesting. He talks about the Illuminati. There you are, David. You tell him. David Splendid Isolation is now going to get into a massive debate with Cryonics Explained. Emma says, no, pointless to become a lolly. Yeah. Well, you wouldn't become... You see, the idea, Emma, though, I know it's funny. I know you're joking, but the idea is to get as much as the ice as possible out of you. Oh, my viewing figures are picking up. The Cryonics Explained says, the Bible says several times that Jesus died without decay, and his followers said several times in the Bible they wanted to die like Jesus without decay. It could be, but they didn't suggest... Obviously, Cryonics Explained the technology didn't exist back then. No one knew how to freeze gas to the point where it was liquid. No one knew how to create temperatures that low. The only experience they would have had of ice is probably in the high mountains around the coast of Judea and that area. So, they wouldn't. So, what do you mean? How did the Bible specifically recommend this method? Is user one good as well? That's great. Hi, Snarnock. How you doing? Yeah. See, nowhere in the Bible, David says without decay. Yeah. Nowhere in the Bible, David, does it say that you have to have your body embalmed. I know the ancient Egyptians talk about, they embalmed bodies. They basically embalmed them in with mummification, which preserved them very well, as we've seen when in the Temple of Tutankhamun and places like that, in the grave of Tutankhamun, the tomb. Yeah. Diego says, what about the reincarnation of a dead pig's body parts? I still enjoy my sausages. Oh, dearie me. I wouldn't enjoy those. Oh, anyway, I need some more dragon juice. I need more dragon juice. Here we go. The Peruvian mummies, yeah, it's not confined to Egypt, Snarnock. Mummification has been done in other cultures as well. Now, contrary to popular belief, the Great Pyramid was not one of these tombs, not like the ones in the Valley of the Kings. But the Egyptians did believe that they seem to have had a very acute awareness of afterlife and went to a lot of trouble to preserve the bodies. And in their belief system, that was the way they did it. That's the way they achieved the afterlife. So that was a form of cryonics, I suppose, in a sense that you had to go through. It wasn't automatic. You didn't just die and your soul left your body. You had to have a process on Earth after death in order to keep your soul ready for the afterlife. I mean, if I'm wrong there, if anyone knows more about ancient Egyptian theology, perhaps you could let me know. But Piper, Ben, haven't you thought about tidying up a bit? Clean your room, bucko. Clean your room, bucko. Yeah. Oh God, what's this? Oh, it's my daughter. One sec. Just going to give a very brief message. There you go. Okay. So, have I thought about tidying up a bit? Yeah, I should do, shouldn't I? I should. But it's not. It's a man cave. I mean, it's not like I've got a girlfriend I need to impress, is it? If I ever get a girlfriend, because everything you see behind you will be spotless. By the way, what's the best man cave in the world? I reckon that one of the best man caves in the world is John Greenwald's. Crafty, all you have to do is at them. Just put at in their name. If you want to, it's like Twitter. Let me show you John Greenwald's man cave. Where is it? He's got a fantastic one. He's married as well. It's very neat and tidy because he's married, of course. The basement office. Hang on. Here we go. It's that program, The Basement Office, by the guy with the funny hairstyle and the weird moustache. Funny enough, Steve Mumbling actually showed. He posted me a link to one of their videos, which is interesting. Actually, I knew what was in it. I'd heard about it before. It's all to do with the ORSAP ATIP dichotomy thing, which is now it's a bit old hat now. But you see John Greenwald's man cave.
Chromebooks are seriously easy.
Oh, shut up, bloody ads. I'll just wait for the ads to clear. I'll try and find it for you because it's really cool. It's what I'd expect from him, actually. It's very, very sophisticated. It's neat and tidy. Because he's a married man, it's neat and tidy. As opposed to me, a scruffy singleton. So it's not. Skip ad, okay. What's this? Is it John Green Street? Where is it? Here we go. I did watch this. Steve Mumbling asked me to watch it, and I did. Let's have a look at it. Here we go.
May not be alone.
There we go.
That means.
Look at that, man, look!
But some people had doubt.
Wicked! That's John Greenwald's man cave. I mean, it's great. He's got like everything's neat and tidy, like I said, because he's married. 4 monitors, phone. He's got. I think there's a cigarette lighter there. I think he must smoke. I didn't know he smoked, but he never smokes. He never smokes on video, but he must smoke. And a nice glass of. There's probably vodka in there, but maybe he's a good boy. Just maybe when he's being filmed, he deliberately puts water there. When normally it'd be a can of beer or something, you know. And he'd have a big ashtray by the left side of the keyboard, you know. But that's got to be one of the best man caves I've ever seen. That's fantastic. Better than mine, or at least cleaner than mine. Yeah. So I'm off. I'm off screen cap. Okay. Well, the Alan Jones has atted me. Hang on a sec. Let's scroll up. Is that round white thing on top of your book pile behind you a large camembert or some kind of soft cheese? Oh. Let's have a look. No, it is this. Do you mean this? It's actually a DVD. It's like a CD case. It's covered in dust. It's a CD case. I don't know why I've got it. I've never used it. But I've got it. I must keep it for some reason. I've got what's this CD here? I've got a kind of... What's this? Oh, this might be Tony Topping's his remote viewing thing. Yeah, oh no, this is something different. This is PowerPoint Roswell 70th. Oh right. Oh this is my, and this is PowerPoint Roswell 70th still in. Yeah. This is just some stuff I had. I haven't put it in the case. It's already got like a kind of envelope folder. So hi Clopeye, how you doing? Welsh Ripper says there may be many passing over when the gas goes up again. Well, Welsh Ripper, see, they're in a bit of a dilemma now, aren't they? The deep state, because what are they going to make this winter? And they cannot control the weather. They're going to make it a really cold winter, or Are they going to make it like a? Is it going to be some kind of? Is it because some really, really hot winter? Oh, David says here, Ben, as you're probably aware, Greenwald and Elizondo have fallen out. Elizondo's lawyer sent Greenwald a threatening letter. Yes, well, that bloody chattering, scruffy-head git, was it Stephen Cambion? He was going on about it. I find that guy infuriating, but sometimes some of his shows are worth watching. He rambles even more than I do, though, but, yeah. But apparently, yeah, Elizondo apparently he's lawyered up, as the Americans said, and he has sent like cease and desist letters to John Greenwald. Where were we? Yeah, we're talking about the gas prices. Now, the thing is, like, they have two narratives here, right? They have two. I mean, as David Cullen said, they're throwing the kitchen sink at us, but there's two main things they're doing now: is climate change and rising prices for energy for things, which has left to energy shortage, food shortages, water shortages, etc. So now what they're going to do is, now if we have a typical, like, if you want to push the climate change narratives, this winter is going to be maybe an over typically southern English one. That is very wet, lots of wind, mild temperatures not below freezing. No snow or ice. That's the kind of winter we're going to get. However, if they do that, it'll be harder to push the energy shortage thing, or make people dependent on the government for help over the energy shortages, because it won't be cold enough for them to worry. On the other hand, if we have an unusually cold winter, which is with ice and snow and blizzards and stuff like that, and broken water pipes, then people will become dependent on the government for energy to keep them alive. Eat or heat, as the phrase goes. But then they're going to have to. The climate change people are going to have to explain that. They're going to say, "Hang on, it's supposed to be getting hotter. Climate change predicts basically warm, wet winters, and then we're not getting them." So, so which are they going to choose? Because they're going to have to either go with one strategy or abandon the other. That is, unless they just want to throw everything out the window and wheel in the aliens. And I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them at all. So TK says home commodity prices, Russian natural gas. Yeah, funnily enough, the sanctions aren't hurting Russia very much. Russia is buying up crypto and gold, and they're trading with India. They've set up bilateral trade agreements with India, China, and Brazil. Yeah. That's fair. You know, Lou Elizondo is, he gets a lot of slag. People slag him off a lot, don't they? Doesn't he get a lot of aggravation from people like Cambion? Well, Cambion gives everyone. Cambion is a kind of like louder, more noisy American Richard D. Hall, isn't he? He's more, and he just attacks everybody because he has appointed himself judge, jury, and executioner of ufology. What's this? Louisa. All right, it's my daughter. I'm gonna be back soon. Okay, I got to meet. Right. Good. I asked her earlier if she was. I do worry about her, you know. There we go. So yeah, I mean, I don't. So I watch his shows, but do bear in mind, you know, Cambion makes accusations against people the same way Richard D. Hall does all the time. Or what's it? Oh no, suggestions. Richard will go, "I never made accusations." No, Richard, you suggest things. You insinuate. You know, that's what you do about almost literally everybody except Andrew Johnson. And Cambion's the same. Cambion just does continuous attacks on people. You know, even if some of his criticism is fair. So, for example, he says, well, Bob Lazar lied about this, that, or the other, and I've got to admit that's true. But he just goes on and on about it for 3 hours non-stop, and at no point does he suggest that we should have some kind of tribunal system for working these things out, because what we have at the moment in ufology is basically a collection of warring lynch mobs. We need some kind of due process. Crafty, he is funny. I suppose he is funny. Although when he goes, he's laughing. When he laughs, his cackle is like. He looks like a kind of. He looks some kind of gothic sort of guy. Hello, Livestream Recordings UK. How do you do? You see, in a sense, what evidence is there that Lou Elizondo is a shill? What actual evidence is there? And, I mean, I'm surprised Richard hasn't brought out his magic wand yet. I mean, someone was suggesting in the comments reply this came up. Oh, if only Richard D. Hall would give Lou Elizondo the Peter Hyatt test, then we would know the truth. We'd know the truth. Anything, Richard D. Hall's magic wand, I think it's running out of power. I think people are starting to realise now, you can't just wheel Peter Hyatt in, throw everything else out the window, refuse to have anything to do with all these substandard people, and just bring in Peter Hyatt, and he'll solve the mysteries for you once and for all. Richard literally said he's found a way to work out the truth about Rendlesham Forest at last. The truth about Rendlesham Forest. After all 40 years of controversy, Richard's going to solve it. He's going to solve it once and for all. All he does is he shows Peter Hyatt some, half-hour recordings of various witnesses, and bam, abracadabra. User 1, says my cat jumped when I laughed like that. Oh my goodness me. User 1, in that case, just show your cat Stephen Cambion and see how the cat reacts when he laughs. Good for you, live streams. An independent ufologist, you don't answer to anyone. Yeah. Michael Richards sort of changed tack. Now Richard is, according to somebody I know, he sometimes comes into chat actually, so he might turn up. Richard is actually active. He has a market stall in Merthyr Tydfil every week. So if you could go along to that. Piper says, Ben, why do you trust Hyatt when he's saying what you like but denouncing when he's not agreeing with your point of view? Well, I don't, Piper. I don't all the time. I think Hyatt's work is a useful tool, but on no account should it simply be used as a substitute for all other forms of scholarship. And this is what Richard is using it for. He's using him for. I don't use him as a substitute for all other scholarship. You see, I don't believe that Madeleine McCann, the parents are lying about Madeleine McCann because they failed the Peter Hyatt test. I don't believe Neil Armstrong lies because he fails the Peter Hyatt test. I think it's interesting that they both fail the test when you consider the other evidence involved. Michael Snow, I know someone who went to Richard's market stall. Diego Rivera says, Andrew Johnson left a complimentary comment on my channel. Maybe he's alright. Oh, well, Diego, maybe you're in the club now, Maybe you're in the club. But for how long? How long? Eh? How long before you fail, you deviate from his ideological purity? Or worse still, object when he says something, he behaves in an antisocial manner. As it was, I actually removed Andrew Johnson from my circle. He didn't remove me. TK says, good you finally see through RDH. Well, TK, I say see through him. I don't think he's a dishonest man. He's just, but his methodology is just, his attitude and methodology really need to improve, because he's capable of doing better, and he has done better. Rihanna says, I might plan a trip to see the Richard D. Hall market stall. Yeah, it rhymes. Why not? You could go there, Rihanna. I mean, I'd go with you, but I don't know if he'd probably, I don't know, he probably wouldn't want me around. He probably wouldn't speak to me. Well, if he doesn't speak to me, I don't care, quite frankly, so it's up to him. Jog of Ages, how do you apply this test to someone? Well, basically, what would happen is, you take one of my videos, you show them to Peter Hyatt, and he analyses my dialogue to see whether or not I'm telling the truth. And there's various different things people give away subconsciously in the way they speak and their body language and things like that, which reveal that they're lying, things like that. Stephen, I think Richard did have actually, he was selling these things on his stall. Yeah, flash drives of information, stuff like that. He's still active. He's just doing things in a different way. But he's fallen out with almost everybody, and especially when, now the fact that I've criticised him so publicly means he's probably going to be. I'm going to be on his hit list. I mean, it's how you avoid his hit list is really difficult because, yeah. Statement analysis. That's it, TK. Yeah. Lizard Skinner said Andrew Johnson got married in his shitty blue Phillies. Oh, maybe he did. Sadly, his wife died, and that's a tragedy. I mean, I don't get satisfaction from the misfortune of others, no matter how much antipathy I feel to them. I don't celebrate when they experience tragedy. Certainly, I don't. Certainly, it's nothing to celebrate, and it's sad. Condolences to him. Leon says, we will plan a trip to the Richard D. Hall market stall. I will act as mediator. If he ignores you, he isn't worthy. Oh, fair enough, Rhiannon. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, I'd like to see his stall. He probably won't. He probably will be all right with me because like most people in this field, he's all mouth and balls online, but in real, when you face to face, they all the bravado goes out the window. Crafty nice. Live chat keeps taking. Yeah, Crafty. It's probably. I haven't seen it. Lisa's modding, but it could be it's held for review, or maybe it's just automatically disappeared. Ferdinand, you're off. Okay, Ferdinand. Take care. All the best. I'm not going to go any more longer after 2 hours, but Jock of Ages, I like a lot of Richard D. Hall's videos. At least the ones he used to do are really good. They're some of the best. I mean, up until quite recently, actually, he was a very, very good researcher and a very, very good presenter. Have a good bank holiday, TK, and everyone have a good bank holiday. Yeah, I'm going to end this at the 2 hour mark, but unless I'm all a bit early if no one's got anything else to say. Does anyone else want to add anything? Does anyone else? Yeah. Gardening with Nick. Hi. Richard D. Hall's changed over the years. I remember him on Edge Media TV. I used to watch that TV channel religiously back in the day. I feel nostalgic now I think about it. Oh, God, yes. Oh, Edge. Oh, do you remember all the Edge Media, On the Edge, Theo Chalmers, and he used to have like all these. Oh, that was such a good. That was so good On the Edge. Luckily, a lot of the videos are floating around. Some of them are on YouTube. I've got some DVDs of them. Oh, but my God, no. Oh, wasn't Edge Media great? Stephen says, Ben, isn't it time to bury the hatchet? Who with, Stephen? Who with? Andrew Johnson? Well, he's never apologised. He said something incredibly hurtful and antisocial, and he's never apologised. He's just doubled down on it. So do you mean Andrew? Who do you mean? Nihilist Lives Matter. I don't know exactly what he sells on his store. I know he sells the flash drives. Maybe he sells his DVDs. I expect he sells his DVDs and his other merch, like the T-shirts. I've got his mouse mat here. Look. Yeah, I've got his mouse mat. There you go. Paranormal Peep. Neil Peel of the Paranormal Peep Show. How are you, Neil? You alright, mate? Nihilist Lives Matter. Is Theo still around? Yes, I still see him on social media. I don't know if he's doing any videos or anything like that. But On the Edge was great, Pat Wright, wasn't it? It was so good. That was I consider that something of a golden age, actually. That period, the late 2000s. That's when I started going to Probe, and there was everything else. It was like, oh wow, it's so good. 2010, yeah. All right, see you then. See you, Bernie. Have a good evening. You off, Emma? Have a good weekend. Enjoy the bank holiday. Gary Robinson, no, RDH does not sell fruit and veg on his stall, unless it's alien fruit and veg. Oh, yeah. Della says Theo's got something coming out soon. He said on Twitter, off the edit. Oh right, I don't follow him on Twitter. Maybe I'll have to. Yeah, off the editors just finished my 6-page article on a 19th century medium rivaling the most famous mediums of all. Blimey, Della, he's still active. I'll have to see that. Yeah. Daniel Douglas Home, light phenomena, sounds, automatic writing, apparitions, levitations. Blimey, that sounds great. Hi Diazepam, how you doing? Have a good bank holiday. You take it easy. Still the noon hour here, says nothing as it seems. Alright, it's now 8, it's almost 8 PM here. Stephen, you'll have to go undercover again. Oh, no, Mr. David has had his day, I think. I'm not going to use that man anymore. I think I can be myself. Diego Rivera, did you fill in your census? I never got sent. I wasn't sent a census form, Diego Rivera, unless my landlord got them and filled them in for us, but he hasn't said anything. That didn't happen last time. Oh, Welsh Ripper says, remember John Harris? Yes, John Harris. That guy was very influential on me. And his interviews on The Edge are great. If you go to YouTube, there's still loads of them there. Yeah, Della Farrell says, I guess he means a rival to Douglas Home. Is that the Prime Minister? There was a Prime Minister called Douglas Home. There was a philosopher called Douglas Hume. He was a Scottish guy. Interestingly, Douglas Hume was an MBAer. He was a massive MBAer. In fact, there's a very famous 3 p.m. in Mexico, right? You are, Gary. There's a very, very famous description of his last days on Earth. Douglas Hume was lying on his deathbed. He's a famous atheo-skeptico-materialo-humanist. And Diego Rivera says, I thought you ripped it up on D Hall's show. That was the last census in 2011. But he was lying on his down. I remember because it was the 1st of May 1776, which was a famous, it's just an important day for the Illuminati, because it was actually July the 4th of that year that the Declaration of Independence was signed in the US. The world was never the same after that. But he was lying on his deathbed in Edinburgh. He was visited by his friend who said, surely now, Mr. Hume, you must believe in the afterlife. Surely does not the threat of annihilation fear you? This was all recorded by someone. This entire dialogue was recorded. And Hume was actually he was a friendly conversation, but he said, no, I'm not going to, it's all over for me. I'm curtains, that he's always never believed in the soul and an afterlife, And Della says, no, Daniel Douglas Home was a famous spiritualist of sorts. Not sure if Theo is not seeing him as famous as I see him. Right, Della, I've not heard of him, but I'd like to see him. Funny enough, I never got around to making that video about that guy. What's the name of the medium? Rhiannon lent me a book. Well, it was she put it by the side of my guest bed on at home. What's his name? Leslie Flint. I never got around to making that video about Leslie Flint, did I? I did a radio show where I interviewed Gary Williams, who's Flint's biographer. But I never did I actually end up doing that video about Leslie Flint. Maybe I should do that. Oh, crafting atheo, skeptico, materialo, humanist. Maybe I should shorten it. ASMH. Maybe I should shorten it. Yeah. And Gary Robinson brings up the poet in the pub. Oh, he was funny, doesn't he? Yeah. he was a comedian, a brilliant comedian. Yeah. I've got the DVD of that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested to read that stuff by Theo, actually, if Theo's going to do that. That's very interesting. A good Theo's getting back in on the game. Hello, Warbabe, how do you do? Welcome. Snarnock, who's the nearest equivalent to Ian R. Crane? Snarnock, there is no equivalent to Ian. Ian is unique. Ian was unique. He was brilliant, and he was. There's no one quite like him. Never will be again. Night, Jock of Ages. Thanks for watching. I think the reason I've got back into because my interest in cryonics began when I first came online. I mean, if you look at the very, very first articles I did on Herpanwo, the original Herpanwo blog, which is still there, back in I think 2006. I think I think it might be 2007 because I deleted the early articles in my blog. They're about cryonics. I cover the cryonics subject, and I've got back into it. I think because I've experienced so many bereavements in the last year or so. Kev Baker, of course. We mentioned Ian R. Crane, who I wasn't as close to Ian as I was to Kev, but I respected him. I knew him. I spoke to him sometimes. And of course, the guys I really were close to was Kev Baker and Gareth Davis, who both dived. Yeah. Lizard Skinner says, "Are you friends with Mark Windows, Ben?" Yes. I mean, I haven't spoken to him for years, but I do know him. I'm familiar with him. I met him at the Bilderberg Fringe. I think that's when we had a conversation. We recognised each other and had a conversation. Snarlock, yes, it's amazing what Ian did. But the good news is that everything Ian did has been preserved. All his videos, all his radio shows. I mean, he never wrote a book, interestingly. Unlike most people, he never wrote a book. But he did videos, he did interviews, he did all of them, including the ones he did with me, are all preserved. Who's the American guy who looked like he stank of cigars and went on about the Federal Reserve? Is nice. That's Jim Tucker, probably. I think you mean Jim Tucker. Louis James says, Ben, out of interest, do you live in a basement flat? Ceilings look unnaturally low. This whole flat is actually, it's in a half basement state. It's on the side of a hill, and it's open on one side and has an alleyway at the other side, so it's partly underground. Yeah, living in your mum's basement. It's not my mum's basement actually. This house is owned by a chap. I won't name him, but this particular flat is owned by a guy who is my landlord. But I live in his basement. Yes. Yeah. And of course Shirley Boltstock died as well. Now she was somebody I don't know. So I didn't know her very well. I suppose I had the hots for her a bit. She was beautiful. And she was this lady. She was actually a psychic a psychic medium who's channeling Paul McCartney. And that's how I got in touch with her. I did a couple of interviews with her. She did a reading for me. We never met. I mean, she lived in Colorado, USA. She died. I didn't know she was ill. I was very sad. I mean, like I said, I didn't know her very well, but I fancied her. I rather fancied her. I sort of had fantasies about meeting her one day. David Schultz, take care, mate. Yeah, good night, you guys. Take care. Louis James, good in a nuclear fallout. Oh, as long as the bomb goes off in the right direction, yeah. Listen, is it bills inclusive? Yes, it is. This room's actually quite reasonable because it's bigger than the last room I was in, and it's in the same building because this guy called Jelly moved out, and he was in this room, and so the landlord said, well, "Why don't you move into this one? Because this is supposed to be like a 2-bedroom flat, but there are 3 people in it. Oh, sorry, 3 people, but I was sort of in a kind of the room I was in was kind of a stock room, and and then so I moved into this bigger room, and no extra rent. The Crafty Nihilist says Bungle looks a bit pensive tonight. Maybe, yeah. Leanna says mediums often have poor health. Yeah, she was ill. She was ill. More. I didn't know she was ill when I found out she died. You know. Louis James, what's your favourite Art Bell show? Oh, there were so many, and they're so great. I don't know. I think it may be the Victor one with the interview, the alien interview thing. Nothing as it seems. The butterfly effect is utterly ridiculous. If you mean the film, it's really depressing. It's horrible. It's a horrible film. Crafty Nihilist asks, what's Bungle? Look at my headboard. What do you reckon? It's a face. Oh man. I've been sorry my lead off for so long. I wanted to get it all in, and very often when I'm doing these live streams I go off I go off. I don't plan them as well as I do my set pieces, and I don't. I tend to sort of go off on tangents. Do I not sleep with pillows? Yes, I do. It's a very small pillow, though, user one. It's very small. It's just a little one. Louis James, the Men in Black shows were great. Yeah, yes, the interviews he did interviews with, did he ever have Nick Redfern on? Because Nick Redfern's done some good stuff about the Men in Black. He's got a new book coming out. I'll have to get a copy of that book. I've got to get a copy of his book. Yeah, I mean, I can't sleep on a big. I can't sleep with my head all propped up on massive pillows. I can't. Leanna knows my sleeping habits because I've slept in her house. Crafty, what did you mean then if you didn't ask what's bungle? Lizard says EDF is a savage beast. Well swerved, Ben. I'm sorry, what do you mean by EDF? I might have missed something you said. Apologies. Who was I talking about? User one. Most people do need more pillows than I have. Yeah. Oh, right. Bungle. All right. Nice. Remember Nick Arson? He was a fruitcake, straight out of a Little Britain sketch. Never heard of him. Was he on Art Bell? Art Bell was kind of like. There's never been an equivalent, is there? Is there any British equivalent of Art Bell? I mean, me maybe. Probably me. I don't think there's any. I think I'm kind of the British Art Bell, really, aren't I? And I'm not as popular as he was yet. Oh, Energy Company, Ben. Is that EDF? Oh, yeah, we had. I think we're on Scottish Power now. I think. I don't know. Oh. Louis James says, have you got any planned shows coming up with Nocturnal Frequency? No, although I hope they come back. Yeah. Oh, Linus, it's French, Ben. EDF. I can't. Sorry, Louis. Sorry, who was it? Lizard Skinnerd. Dallas is only you, Ben. Oh, right. Am I? Yeah, I think I am the only one. There's no other. I can't think of anyone else who does. Well, there's some people who have podcasts and things, but they haven't done as many as mine, and not the same style. I mean, my style is very Bellian. What about France? Sorry, Lizard. Oh, I don't know what you mean about France. I'm sorry. I did a show about France. I did a live stream about the French election, didn't I? Snarnock, yeah, without the cigarette. Snarnock, you're a regular listener, aren't you? Alright, no worries, Lizard. I'll be good 2 hours now, guys, so I think we've covered everything. I can't think of anything else to talk about, so shall we call it a night? Thank you, all of you. Thanks, Lizard, the Crafty Nihilist, Rick Horden, User One, Louis James, Snarnock, Della Farrant, Hatchy, Rhiannon Jones, Neil Peel, and everyone else. Thank you very much, all of you. And Nihilist Lives Matter, yeah. It's been good, mate. It's really, really good. And thanks, Della. I don't have a blindsided agenda like Art Bell pretenders. I think I'm more genuine like he is. I really am, like, because I think he was like me. He really genuinely loved the subject and what he did. Yeah. Night, Della. Night, Michael Snow. Night. It's been all right. I mean, as I said, I rambled a little bit, but I got the message out that I needed to get out. So thank you, all of you. And we've done Cryonics now. That's it. It's in the can. We don't need to worry about it anymore. John Kierkegaard. Good night. John Kierkegaard. Pat Riot. Gardening with Nick. See you soon. See you next week. Crafty Nice always does this. Whenever I end the show, Crafty Nice says, disclosure? Crafty Nice wants a 4-hour show. Thanks, nothing as it seems. It's been good, hasn't it? It's been great. We've had like a reasonable viewing figures. Actually, it's been sort of average. I think 100, about 100 or just over 100 is my record for a live stream. I hope to break that one day. I do hope to break that. Alien Scientist was going on. He's moaning the other day. Why don't I get as many viewers as bloody Jeremy Corbell? Well, Jeremy, you could try growing a big trendy beard like he does. That might help. Night, Donna Wellham. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, guys. All right, that's it. Farewell. Whatever you're doing for this bank holiday weekend, if you're in Britain, thank you very much, all of you. Enjoy whatever you do, and I'll be back again soon with another video. I'm not sure what it'll be. It may not be till after ASAP. I'm sorry about that, but I'll have to just see. And I haven't